This is the time of year that Project Harmony sees an increase in reports of child abuse.
Those officials tell First Alert 6's John Chapman more digital awareness and parental vigilance could stop the abuse before it happens.
It all happened in one afternoon. One by one, they stood before a judge, each accused of perverse sexual behavior with a minor.
104 files consistent with child sexual assault material were located depicting children ranging from infants to approximately 12 years old.
Count 5, possession of child pornography. Count 6, possession of child pornography. Count 7, possession of child pornography.
Officers executed a search warrant on the defendant's home, seized several electronic devices. Across the devices, over 1,000 child pornography files were located.
Project Harmony CEO Klein says we're seeing more people accused of child abuse because reporting of child abuse seems to take a spike in the months of April and October.
Our theory is that it's typically tied back to schools. In that October range, kids are getting to know their teachers. Teachers are still the #1 reporters to the child abuse hotline. And then in that April period, they're kind of winding out the year, and maybe they've been holding that child together for the whole school year, and they're making those reports.
Klein tells us there are people hiding behind keyboards, luring children into bad situations. But law enforcement is on top of that. Klein says they were not surprised with the recent arrest of sex traffickers here in the metro.
Prior to 2021, we had 0 child sex trafficking arrests or convictions in the state. Since then, we've had 25 convictions and over 60 arrests in the metro area.
Arresting child abusers is a sign of increased public awareness. Klein says it would be better to protect the innocence of our children before people with bad intentions get to them. That starts with training. Project Harmony has a program.
So our training program focuses on those professionals responding to child abuse and neglect, those schools, first responders, that would be those teachers, daycare providers, professionals that work with children, and then the general public.
In Omaha, I'm John Chapman, First Alert 6.
The Child Abuse Hotline is operated by the state of Nebraska and takes about 350 calls a day. If you have something to report, you can find the number for both Nebraska and Iowa on our website.